Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is the place where I mostly talk about games, movies, TV series and anime, usually reviewing them in order to determine whether they are worth the watch or play. As there are literally an overabundance of content present to watch or to play, I'm just trying to be a guide of sorts to help you filter out the content and find the ones which are actually worth your time investment. So keeping up with the theme of the series, today we're going to check out David Fincher's The Killer. To anyone who is unaware, David Fincher is the director behind some of the best psychological thrillers like Fight Club, Seven, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, and many more. So the build-up anticipation was natural when I first heard about The Killer, and that anticipation soon turned to confusion as soon as the mixed responses about the movie started arriving, where some were praising it and some were downright just trashing it. So let's actually take a look and understand what the fuss is about and if the movie is actually worth the watch. So unlike most of the David Fincher movies, the plot and the setting of The Killer is very simple and straightforward, where Michael Fassbender plays the titular killer who's an assassin for hire.
Popeye the Sailor probably said it best. I am what I am.
The movie starts off with an intro monologue of Michael Fassbender, aka The Killer, talking about the life of a professional hitman, which I found satirical in nature as it was clearly visible that the killer is trying to play as a hardcore professional without having much of an actual experience. And he continues this monologue throughout the intro, giving you a gist of being a professional whilst currently on a hit job awaiting his target, providing setting and a theme of the movie with a bit of a satire. At least I hope that's what they were actually going towards with the theme and the storytelling.
It's amazing how physically exhausting it can be to do nothing.
So after a bit of a lengthy yet engaging monologue, things starts rolling when the awaited target arrives and by his own fault the killer misses the mark. So after messing up the job, which apparently was a big deal,
Fuck.
now the killer is on the run trying to go into the hiding, which turns out he's not that great at. And everybody he has pissed by screwing up this job is after him. And now to get out of this hot mess, he must wipe the slate clean from everyone after him so that he can be left alone in peace. And that's pretty much the entirety of the movie, like a straight arrow. No cap, no kidding, no curves, no twist along the way. You might argue that there is nothing wrong with that a movie being a super direct, and I completely agree. But the approach with which the movie was undertaken is in a very simple and minimalistic way, where the plot progression and narration is also done in a very straightforward, predictable way. I guess that's the main thing. The plot and the setting of the movie is quite predictable in the most obvious ways, and I guess that took some excitement out of the picture.
If you're unable to endure boredom, this work is not for you.
Now, keeping aside the plot and the setting, I'm going to talk a bit more about the character performances and direction, the part where movie actually shines. Since the movie is completely based in and around the killer, with other supporting cast barely making an appearance to move the plot further, the entirety of the movie becomes dependent on Michael Fassbender, and he justifies that role quite competently, giving us a believable portrayal of a slight novice killer trying to act and force himself as a hardcore professional with a strong performance. Here, throughout the movie, you can observe that the killer is trying to push forward through scenarios and situations, sometimes unwillingly, because he believes that is the most ideal way for a professional to act in those situations.
Stick to the plan. Anticipate, don't improvise.
These are the instances where movie tries to be satirical, as it feels like most of killer's ideologies and personal code of conduct comes either from stereotypical movies or books or quick Google searches. And this is the part where a sense of dark humor comes into play, as whenever his stereotypical knowledge lets him down, putting him in a sort of awkward situations.
Shit. Fuck.
The movie also possesses a classic Fincher style of direction, where the man excels at holding the viewer's attention even at simple monotonous scenarios. Or maybe it is the simplistic nature of these shots which make those scenes engaging. Whatever the reason may be, at the end of the day, The way of direction has the capability to engage you into a scene trying to build that anticipation. That, along with the tone of satirical dark humor, were the movie's two big redeeming factors. Sadly, the instances where these elements get to shine are few and far in between, where the anticipations didn't exactly had a substantial payoffs, and pairing that up with the predictable plot and story progression, the movie watching experience becomes kinda redundant.
It all comes down to preparation, attention to detail, redundancies, redundancies, and redundancies.
I know I haven't had much nice things to say about the movie and do have mixed feelings about it, but still, David Fincher's The Killer is actually not a horrible movie. A solid, straightforward plot, a strong performance by the lead, a satirical setting with classic Fincher's style of direction offering dark humor.
Need any help getting rid of that body?
Where you take the deep dive into the psyche of a hitman. In paper, it should all work very nicely, and it does work to a certain extent, but in execution, the way these things were put together doesn't really favors the movie, where the built-up anticipation doesn't exactly pays off with generic way of plot progression and storytelling, with a dark humor theme which felt a bit lacking in punch. I would say this again, this is not a bad movie. I personally enjoyed it, and if you decided to watch it, there's a very good possibility you will not hate it and might actually enjoy it. But there's no denying the fact that the movie is a bag of mixed feelings. You can see what the director was intending towards, and you might even like the idea of it. Still, at the end of the day, the entire movie watching experience felt a bit redundant. So I will say that this movie is not for the mainstream consumers, but rather appeals to a niche group of people who enjoy the direction style of David Fincher. So folks, that's it from my side today. Thank you for watching the video. Please let me know your thoughts on it. If you have already watched the movie, do let me know your experience on the comment section. And also let me know if there are any other movies, series or anime you'd like me to review and figure out if they're actually worth the watch. So don't forget to drop a like, comment your feedbacks and subscribe for more incoming videos. And I'll see you soon on the next one.